Welcome to the third in this series of videos that looks at the different kinds of IELTS essay questions. This video will look at discussion essay questions. Have a look at the example of a discussion essay question. Nowadays, it is becoming harder to get professional work in rich countries. What are some causes of this? What can people do to increase their chances of finding a good job? Let's look at the features of a discussion essay. The first feature is a fact. Have a look at the fact in this one. Nowadays, it is becoming harder to get professional work in rich countries. That's not presented as something I can agree or disagree with. It's presented as something that is the truth. So keep that in mind. A discussion essay begins with a statement of fact. These essays then ask you to discuss two things. Now the way they ask you might be in the form of a question, just like this one. What are some causes of this? What can people do to increase their chances of finding a good job? Notice, neither of these questions are after my opinion on something. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with anything in these two questions. I'm just being asked to come up with some ideas. With discussion essays, there are 5 common things that you will need to discuss. The first is advantages, then disadvantages, maybe causes, maybe effects, maybe solutions. These are the most common. In this essay, of those 5, which ones are we looking at? Of course, causes, but for the second question, we're also looking at what can people do? That means solutions. So I would identify this as a discussion essay that asks for causes and solutions. Now I know that, I can move on to structuring my essay properly. Of course, the way I need to structure my essay is to have 2 body paragraphs and think about what I'm going to write in each of them. Now, in the first body paragraph, I'm talking about causes. So, what ideas do we have for causes? Just like in previous essays, we need to think of 4 points to cover the 2 body paragraphs. In the first body paragraph, I've thought of 2 causes why it's harder to get a job these days. There are many applicants and there are more highly educated applicants. So both of these points are about applicants. One, many, the other, more highly educated. When I come to write my solutions paragraph, I'll talk about the solution of networking, that will help me get a good job, and being aware of the job market's future. Of course, once I've identified my main points, I next need to write my introduction. Now, I have a very simple formula for writing the introduction to discussion essays, and this is it. First, paraphrase the fact. Then say that the essay will discuss the 2 points. So the fact is nowadays it is becoming harder to get professional work in rich countries. This is how I paraphrase that fact. In recent times, it has become much more difficult to obtain a professional job, particularly in wealthy countries. Now for the next 2 questions, I need to say this essay will discuss question 1 and question 2. Look at how I did that. This essay will explore the reasons for this change and suggest some ways people can improve their likelihood of getting a job. Notice, reasons matches causes. Ways matches solutions. That's the way I've paraphrased those words. If you want some more options for paraphrasing these sorts of questions, watch my 5th video. It's a vocabulary video. It will give you everything you need for paraphrasing these kinds of essays. After writing my introduction, I need to move on to my body 1 paragraph, And just like all body 1 paragraphs, I need to start with a topic sentence. The biggest contributing factor underlying the apparent contraction of the job market is competition. I'll read that in simpler English, just in case you don't understand what I mean. I'm saying the biggest reason for the job market getting smaller, for less jobs being available, is competition, is lots of people wanting the job. That's what I mean by my topic sentence. Now it's time to bring in my first point. For every well-paid job, sometimes up to 100 people will apply. Notice my first point, 100 people will apply. It's what I brainstormed earlier. Now, expansion sentence. This is because of the globalization of the economy, which leads to more highly skilled and well-qualified people being able to apply for jobs abroad. My next main point is also about this idea of competition, so I want a word that will show a good connection between my 2 points. And a good word to use is furthermore. It shows that the 2 points are quite connected. Furthermore, people seem to be much more highly educated than in the past. Let's expand. Decades ago, having a bachelor's degree was virtually a guarantee of finding a well-paid position. However, now, it seems that having a master's degree is a requirement just to keep up with the many other job applicants. That body paragraph just answered why, or the causes, for the job market being very difficult today. Now, my body 2 paragraph looks at some solutions to it. I can begin by using a contrasting statement and then a new topic sentence. Despite these challenges, there are actions that people can take to increase their chances of finding a good job. If you need more help with topic sentence writing, you will find some in my vocabulary video, the 5th video in this series. Notice in this topic sentence, I've paraphrased solutions as actions that people can take. First of all, networking is a key requirement in the real world. Notice networking was the point we brainstormed earlier. I need to expand now. Knowing somebody who knows somebody may not feel like the most ethical way to advance a career. However, maintaining a level playing field has never helped anyone find a job. Time for my second point. A second step that can be taken is to stay ahead of the job market. I need to explain what I mean now. If a person knows what the most desirable jobs will be in the medium to long term, they are able to prepare themselves accordingly through education courses and finding hands-on experience. There you go, a simple body paragraph, first with a topic sentence and 2 points. The first one being about networking, the second one being about researching and staying ahead of the job market. The last thing I need to do now is to conclude my essay. So for my conclusion, I need to begin with in conclusion and then contrast my first body paragraph with my second, my problems with my solutions. In conclusion, while a surge in competition has made finding professional employment more of a challenge, it is clear that by networking and becoming aware of the future job market, obtaining a good position is not an impossible task. Remember our first body paragraph was all about competition? I've mentioned that again here. I've said while a surge or an increase in competition has made finding professional employment more of a challenge, paraphrasing body 1, now I decide to paraphrase the 2 main points of body 2. It is clear that by networking, my first main point, and becoming aware of the future job market, my second main point, obtaining a good position is not an impossible task. Like we saw in the previous video, I could just paraphrase my body 1 as a whole and my body 2 as a whole, or I can paraphrase the main points from each. In this case, I've done that. It gives me a slightly more detailed and longer conclusion. Remember what I said earlier. These essays aren't always just problems and solutions. Sometimes they might be asking you to discuss advantages and disadvantages, or maybe the causes of something. It doesn't matter what they're asking. If you follow these steps, you'll be able to write it just fine. The next video is a 2-question essay video. I'll see you in that one.